Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with a review and demo of the L'Oreal True Match Lumi cushion, which looks like this. It has a really pretty accented rose gold on the upper half with just a basic white plastic on the lower half. It has the directions and the ingredients on the back with a mirror on the inside, and it has where your puff sits and you open it, and that is the foundation. So this is a product by L'Oreal in which it's received a lot of buzz lately from very many gurus and just a lot of people in general. And basically this is modeled after the Korean cushion foundations, which look like this. So pretty much you can buy this from your local drugstore, Ulta, Walmart, anywhere. At the L'Oreal section, it can vary by price, but I got mine from Ulta for $16.99. It comes in 3 different undertones, so you can choose your specific one. They have C, N, and W. C is cool, N is neutral, and W is warm. And I am number 3, I'm W3. And the numbers range from 1 to 8 depending on the undertone, I believe. Or it's 1 to 8 regardless. I think it's 1 to 8 regardless. So if I'm NC20 and 3 is close, like the closest to NC20, then I guess you could say that it goes pretty far, or far enough. Much farther than their shade range is much wider than the Korean ones, because the Korean ones only have like 2. Some of them have more, but most of them only have 2. So this is definitely a plus for those of you with different undertones and different skin tones than that of the Korean ones. L'Oreal doesn't have too many claims for this cushion foundation. Basically, they just say, oh, it's supposed to give you luminous and fresh looking skin. And they use the word all skin tones on Ulta's website, but I think they mean all skin types. And they also say that it has customizable coverage, customizable and buildable coverage. So, as you saw in the demo video, I used maybe like 1.5 layers, if that says anything. I use about 1.5 layers, so you have a sense of how well it covers. It has pretty good coverage, I would say. Definitely not as much of a natural coverage. The coverage is definitely not as natural as what I'm used to in cushion foundations, but of course it may be also because of the product itself on the inside. So a little bit about the L'Oreal cushion versus the Korean ones is that the L'Oreal cushion has foundation on the inside, whereas Korean cushions usually have BB cream or CC cream. And the difference with that is that BB creams and pretty much the difference with that is that BB creams and CC creams tend to have whitening properties. Whitening and brightening are pretty much the same thing for Asian beauty products. So basically when they say whitening, they mean brightening. So they have brightening effects. Plus they help to retain moisture or add moisture to the skin, as well as provide sun protection. So they typically have SPF. And L'Oreal's is foundation, so it doesn't have any of those. They don't have anything on the packaging saying it has any SPF protection or anything like that. So that's pretty much the difference between the formulation of the L'Oreal one and the Korean cushions. So the L'Oreal one doesn't have any SPF protection whatsoever. Make sure you wear sunscreen underneath. You should wear sunscreen underneath your regular Korean cushions as well, because the Korean ones are just added, but you should always apply it separately anyways. So as I told you already, it's supposed to give you a luminous, fresh look. So it has a dewy finish. It also has a customizable coverage, in which I would say with the first layer, it's pretty like sheer medium. Not quite medium, but it does have quite a bit of coverage. It also wears really lightly, like it feels really nice and lightweight. You do feel like you have makeup on though. So you can feel it, but it's not outrageously like uncomfortable or anything like that. So it does wear really nicely. It's nice and lightweight, but you do acknowledge that you have it on. You know how some foundations, like you can have it on and you don't really feel anything. This one you do feel something. It's on the lighter side, but then you do feel it. That's just something for you to consider whenever you're thinking about this cushion foundation, is that you do feel it on. It's not super lightweight. It's not the most lightweight one you've ever felt, but it is there and you know it's there. And throughout the day, it wears pretty well. It doesn't really come off too much, which is really nice. It doesn't oxidize either throughout the day, not that I've noticed. I do recommend you touch up every so often depending on the activities that you're doing. I usually just wear it to work, so I'm working and I'm dealing with people, and it usually wears pretty well. It doesn't crease too much, which is nice, but for some reason it's just not my favorite. It's not my favorite. It's not my least favorite either. I think if I had to choose of all the cushions that you saw in the haul video, this is my second to least favorite. My second to least favorite. So my least favorite you will see later whenever I get around to reviewing that. But this is my second to least favorite. One, because of the SPF protection. There's none. I know I said to use SPF separately, but it's always nice to have it with you throughout the day, because if you are touching up, even if you don't need to, it's there. Pretty much that's the first issue with this. The next one would be that I think this wears, obviously it's foundation, and it wears more like a Western foundation, which is probably the point, but I don't like the application at all. I mean, application is the same as the Korean ones, but when you look inside, here, let me bring you closer. But when you look inside, like, look at the sponge. The sponge is insanely cheap, and the pores inside the sponge are super huge. This is something I could wash dishes with. Now, let me compare it to the Misha one, which costs pretty much about the same. The Misha one here is the Magic Cushion. It's $19. And look at the size of the holes side by side. See, so this is the Misha one and this is the Loreal one. With the holes being this large in the Loreal one, you're gonna get a lot of excess product dispersion. And let me zoom out again. Yeah, so you're gonna end up with a lot of product dispersion, which means that you're gonna end up with too much product on the puff, or you're just gonna end up with too much product on the puff, and then you're just gonna have to even it out, and that makes it really difficult to use. So when I use the L'Oreal one, I just kind of tap it very lightly and then I put it on, and that is perfectly enough. That's definitely something about this one that I don't like, is that the sponge inside is so insanely cheap, and it's just not ergonomic at all, because you end up wasting a lot of product. The other thing is, obviously there's no room for refills in this, because it is just this. Most cushion foundations are built so that way you can pop in refills. I know the Lancome one has refills. I don't know about Lancome though. Although it doesn't have any refills, that doesn't make it any more expensive, because all the Korean ones, you do get a lot of refills. If you pay 60 bucks, you get 2 extra refills on top of what's already inside. So they all cost about the same. It's just how much you're spending at once is the difference. The other thing I don't like about this is the packaging itself. I don't like how it's just like you open the, I just don't like how you open it like this, you know? There's no button to press. I think I'm just picky, perhaps, but I prefer to have the button to press and then it releases it. Final thoughts, I do like this. It is my second to least favorite. And whether or not I would repurchase, I'm not exactly sure. As far as the finish is really pretty, but I think it's more of the dewiness of it, the luminosity of it is not radiant, if that makes sense. So I don't like it as much. I don't like it as much. It doesn't give you as healthy of a glow, in my opinion, of this plaster dewiness. So it just looks kind of artificial. It just doesn't look radiant, I guess. Not from the inside out. This one looks a little bit more forced. Reminds me of, I don't know. It reminds me of a freshly baked bread. Freshly baked bread, and you butter it with some butter, and then you know how it kind of gleams. That's what I feel. It's not like a radiant kind of it's not like a radiant kind of dewiness about it. I mean, I would recommend this if you prefer foundation type products and Western type products with more coverage. Of course, this gives you a wider shade range and more undertones to account for. So this is definitely a great alternative to Korean ones, but I personally am not a huge fan of it. So yeah, pretty much that's it for my review. Please let me know if this was useful for you, helpful in any kind of way. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye!